Are you wanting to know how to nurture yourself through mistakes? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach self-government, which is a type of communication with yourself and with other people that develops strong family bonds and relationships. In this video, we're going to be talking about handling mistakes the self-government way. We all make mistakes, we have habits to overcome, there's things that we're working on, right? So in this video, I'm going to talk about how we get our mind in the place to accept those mistakes and what we can do to fix some of those mistakes in really productive ways. We all have internal dialogues that are going on all the time. We converse with ourselves on the inside. Well, maybe not everybody. There's a few people who all the conversation happens on the outside, but even extroverts have communication going on the inside. And when we discuss with ourselves, sometimes we can be pretty harsh. Sometimes we actually make a lot more out of a situation than we should. These are all traps. When we are handling mistakes for ourselves and we're nurturing ourselves, we need to remember something super important. Who are we? Who are you? Have you asked yourself that question recently? Because who you are is very important and valuable to acknowledge. When I was little, my mother used to tell me, Nicholeen, you are a child of God. And we would sing this little song, I am a child of God and He has sent me here. And I learned the nature of who I was. And then as I went through life, I remember I had a youth leader at my church who said, you are a daughter of God. And she reminded me again, that's who I was. My maiden name was Pond. I was a Pond. I was Nicholeen, which was unique too, because nobody else had a name like mine. So I was unique with my unique name. I was a member of my family, but I also had this attachment to somebody greater than everybody else, to God. That was who I was. Everybody's looking for that. And if we can remember who we are and that we have this great potential, then hopefully we won't be too hard on ourselves and we can nurture ourselves forward. So the word nurture actually means to train, to nourish, to strengthen, to correct, to instruct. Those are all definitions of to nurture. So if we are going to nurture ourselves, then we need to instruct, correct, and train ourselves. Hopefully our parents gave us a good example for how we can do that, but whether they did or whether they didn't, the principles are the same, and we're going to talk about those now. Before we talk about the step-by-step approach that you can take to nurture your own heart, even during hard times and mistakes, click on that subscribe button. Make sure that you do not miss a lot of the great content that comes out on this channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell too. So we've already determined who we are. At least I hope you've taken some time. Maybe pause the video if you haven't yet and write down, who am I? What are the self-evident truths that I know? Do I have children? Well, then I'm a parent. Am I a woman? Well, then I am a woman, and I'm probably a mother because I have the children, right? And am I a child? What does that mean? What does it mean to be a brother or a sister, a neighbor or a friend? These are all roles that we might have. In fact, what I've recognized in recent years is that people are out of touch with their roles and who they are. They think the things they want, the things they prefer, the things they like, actually make them who they are. And that is not the same as identity. But this best-selling book, Parenting a House United, I wrote thinking that everyone understood the concept of roles or identity or who they were. Boy, was I surprised. People started coming to me regularly and saying, well, but Nicholeen, my child won't listen to me. Well, they don't care if I tell them to do that or if I correct them. And then I would say, well, that's a roles problem. So then I decided I better write a different book. And that book was called Roles: The Secret to Family, Business, and Social Success. In our businesses, we have roles. In our relationships with friends, we have roles. But in our family, we have roles too. And I think a lot of times we're pushing against the roles in our family, even though we're trying to embrace other roles in politics and business. Roles keep us happy and secure in all of our relationships. So if we can remember who we are, then hopefully that can keep us going in a forward direction. So the next question is, where are you going anyway? Where are you headed? Do you have a plan for your family? So in our family, we created what I called our 20-year vision. It was a plan for where we wanted to end up in 20 years' time. And this wasn't necessarily like a certain kind of a house or a state that we were going to live in, but it was a connection that we were going to have. It was a state of unity and of bonding that we were going to have with each other. So we created a picture in our minds of 20 years in the future at a holiday party and who we were becoming. And then we practiced. We practiced going in that direction every single day. This didn't mean that we did the activities at that Christmas party every day, but we wanted it to feel the same, and if it didn't, we would stop and fix. Now this brings me to actually fixing the mistake. So if you know who you are, where you're headed, then we can see our mistakes in a whole new light. A person who knows who they are and where they're headed also knows that they're not going to be perfect all along the way. They're on a journey. This means that just like they would forgive someone else who did something that they didn't like, they have to forgive themselves too. Otherwise, they stop their progression. So if you are going to nurture your heart, you have to tell yourself ahead of time, I might make mistakes, and they may have negative consequences. Some of those mistakes. Maybe I'm speeding down the road and so I get a speeding ticket. Instead of beating myself up over it, instead of getting depressed over it, I need to say, well, that happened. That was a consequence of one of my actions, and I'll have to accept it. I need to drop the subject. So this is actually utilizing a skill. It's a skill that I've taught myself and my children. This skill is called accepting consequences. There are 4 basic skills that a person needs to be fully mature and self-governing. They need to know how to follow instructions, accept no answers and criticism, accept consequences, and disagree appropriately. When I can accept my consequences, that means I can look at the situation or the person, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say okay or ask to disagree appropriately, do the consequence, whatever it is, and then check back and drop the subject. That drop the subject step is huge. I'm not going to think about it anymore. I'm now just going to move forward. And I think this is where a lot of people get hung up. They get down, they get depressed because they ruminate again and again on what they did that was wrong. And then they start to forget who they are and where they're headed just because they had one mistake. If we want to nurture ourselves, we've got to be honest with ourselves. And the honest truth is, we aren't done yet. If you have a thought that continually plagues you, maybe something like, oh, that was so dumb, or something like that when you make a mistake, you've got to tell yourself that is the wrong thought. Change your thought. In fact, it's a good idea to make a descriptive thought instead of an emotional thought. This is a great way to start on the pathway to self-government. So if you usually tell yourself, oh, that was dumb, instead say, that was a no answer, and I didn't drop the subject. So hopefully you go to teachingselfgovernment.com, you learn the 4 basic skills, or you find other videos on this channel that also teach those 4 basic skills. And you learn what to teach yourself so that you are self-governing and successful. Then you learn the steps that you can remind yourself of instead of getting emotionally reactive with yourself about a simple mistake. So if you can just describe, well, that was a no answer and I need to drop the subject, then you can point yourself in the direction that you want to go instead of getting caught in emotion. The moment you start showing emotion and ruminating on that emotion, you will get stuck in the amygdala of your brain and it will start to create behaviors that you wish you did not do. You can choose your behavior. You can pick it, but you have to use the front part of your brain to think through what is happening on the deeper parts of your brain. Once you feel something like maybe you feel discouraged or you feel let down by yourself, then say, I feel let down, but that's just a no answer. I can keep a calm face, voice, and body. I can say okay, and I can drop the subject. Those are part of the steps of accepting a no answer. Teach yourself the skills that you need for success. When we nurture ourselves, it doesn't just accidentally happen. It happens on purpose. It's training, correction, instruction, nourishing. Just like when you nourish a plant, it doesn't happen on accident. If that plant's going to live and thrive, someone's got to take care of it. And we've got to take care of ourselves too by nourishing our own hearts. If you've enjoyed this mini class on nourishing yourself when you make mistakes, I'm pretty sure you will love a full-length class that I have called The Expectation Trap versus the Cycle for Success. This class will show you key places that you can adjust some of your mindset and learn certain skills so that you don't fall into expectation traps and damage your relationships. Click on the link to The Expectation Trap versus the Cycle for Success now.